Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Hey everybody, checking back in on the cryptocurrency space. We'll add a couple names today with a bit more time. We've got XRP, Binance, BCH. Let's see what BCH is up to at the end here. But what I want to point out is 5-minute oversold conditions. Bitcoin right now is looking a little bit toppy with a big upper wick forming. 5-minute oversold entries have been the bread and butter play of the last 24 hours. So we have one time where the RSI dips down. We went from 7,600 up to over 8,000. So very significant 5+% gains, and also the opportunity to see further follow through if really holding on to those. We then had another 5-minute oversold bounce. And you look at this and you say, well, the 5-minute RSI didn't hit oversold. At the bottom of that candle, it certainly did. And the bulls were ready to buy that dip. And you know that if we're buying the dip to the point where the candles don't even close in oversold conditions, you know that's aggressive dip buying. So we went from 78.91, we'll call it 7,900, $250 move in just a span of a half an hour. We then dropped down, held a higher low, tightened up, and saw a bull break. And then we had another one, another two actually. Here it is again. Didn't even close under oversold, but at the bottom of that candlestick, we were certainly oversold. 79.18 up to 8,100, we'll call it. Again, just multiple percentage bounces in a half an hour span, and then another big one just occurred. 77.32, this time it dropped all the way down to 25-minute RSI, but the returns were still there. $300 gain in about an hour of follow-through. So the best entries have been on oversold conditions over the last 24 hours for really nice day trade flips, or you set your stop at break even and hope the bulls see continuation. And of course, that stop at break even would have been best case on the first time we hit oversold conditions since the bull run started. And then now the preceding ones, or I should say the following ones, didn't see as much follow through. But what I'm looking for is a shift in sentiment to tell me the temporary top is in. Because right now we're still fluttering around within 5% from higher highs. And it will be a shift in the 5-minute RSI dip buying that shows me a shift in the market and our top being set and looking for prolonged consolidation on the 4-hour time frame and the daily time frame. So what I'm looking for is a distinct difference in the RSI conditions. If we see a 5-minute RSI dip to oversold and the bulls buy that dip, as we've seen 4 times in a row, we see the bounce, we struggle, and then if we drop down to a lower low and see RSI levels get oversold again, and that might have already started at this point. You can see we hit 5-minute oversold, we bounced, didn't get a ton of follow through, and then we dropped to a lower low, back to oversold again. So this tells me it's a bit more of prolonged consolidation. The difference is here we bounced right off the 4-hour 12-period exponential support. In my opinion, that support being hit provided the extra bounce momentum here. But if we see 5-minute RSI levels, number one, get more extreme. So if we're seeing them bounce and not close under 30, or if we're seeing them close at 20, that's a big difference between those two scenarios. In one, we show very aggressive dip buying. In the other, we show certainly still dip buying, but not as aggressively. So this is the least aggressive dip buying into oversold conditions. The most follow through for the bears is essentially what we could call it. This was the most significant push for the bears on the 5-minute time frame that we've seen in this entire bull run. So now the question is, do we continue pulling back? Do we keep setting 15-minute lower highs? This is a potential inverse head and shoulders 15-minute pattern. But if we see a 15-minute equilibrium pattern form here and then break bearish, we're going to start shifting our time frame, because we're going to say, okay, the 5-minute RSI just got the most extended that we've seen on this entire bull run. That means the dip buying is slowing up a little bit. It's not as strong. So I'll then be looking at 15-minute oversold conditions and hourly oversold conditions. The first time Bitcoin hits hourly oversold, there's going to be a lot of traders there to buy that dip. And it's not going to happen anytime soon. We could drop down under 7,500 today and still wouldn't be in those oversold conditions. We'd be approaching them, but we wouldn't be there just yet. So we have seen an hourly lower high and lower low. The 4-hour time frame is now the most clear as far as what we're watching for the bulls maintaining the 4-hour uptrend, which they are still doing. But again, RSI oversold levels, when we're extended to this extent on the 4-hour and daily time frame, it's hard to be confident buying bullish. I've talked in previous videos about buying tight patterns that break bullish and scaling out instantly to be protected because we know we're overextended. Buying in oversold conditions much more comfortable when we're this overextended on the daily time frame. So I played an oversold bounce myself. I sold it a little bit early, scaled in 7,800 down through the 7,600s here, and I exited back in the 7,800s, scaling out on the way up. So definitely exited too early, but again, we're not going to go broke locking in profit on oversold bounces after a significant bull move has already taken place. So here's the pullback now, and let's see what the 5-minute RSI does. Let's compare it to how it's happened previously, and let's watch the 15-minute RSI to see if we're going to get the first 15-minute oversold conditions that we've seen since this second leg up from the 6,700s took place. So I am still cautious here. I'm currently all cash. I will be interested in flipping oversold bounces that have been working over the last 24 hours. And now we're looking at some altcoins that are starting to run. Some of the larger cap altcoins seeing some pumps. XRP is one of them. We'll look at that in just a moment. But looking at ETH, big upper wicks 4 days in a row showing profit taking. So I look at the 4-hour time frame. We're still in an uptrend. We still have exponential support. 191.43 is the most important level. 4-hour uptrends being lost on any of these names mean daily consolidation is coming. Key resistance is 216.17. And of course, you want to keep watching the ETH BTC chart and the LTC BTC chart to see where we stand. Because if we see a trend change on the 4-hour time frame, it would be notable. We've been pulling back on the daily for about a week and a half now. And the weekly chart is heading down close to our lows, 244, and we're at 245. So these are some of the lowest levels that we have seen in this entire pullback. So 231 and 244 are key. Let's see if ETH bulls can hold this level and get a bit of bounce, keeping in mind that we could see a bounce on this time frame or this ticker, ETH BTC, and that may just mean that Bitcoin pulls back more significantly than Ethereum does. That would still cause this chart to go up. So keep in mind that a bounce here does not necessarily mean that Ethereum is going up, ETH USD. Litecoin, upper wicks, very clear. We did not break to a higher high. This is a scenario now where Litecoin has been the lead bull all of 2019 out of these three. Binance has been stronger, but we'll call Litecoin a number 2 bull. But we're not breaking to higher highs while Ethereum and Bitcoin both did. So that's Bitcoin and Ethereum catching up a bit to Litecoin, and we can see Litecoin has lost the 4-hour uptrend. $86 broke, not convincingly, but it is certainly notable that it is the first name to lose that 4-hour uptrend. Support is 83.29 and 83 even, and again, break those levels, and we'll have to pull back and form a daily higher low. Looking at the LTC BTC chart. So it too has been very weak in a downtrend. The weekly time frame has been pulling back for 6 weeks at this point. Binance, or I should say Bitcoin, is in the spotlight, and that is due to the hedge narrative that is now being spun. We also have the backed exchange news coming out. There's a lot of news events that are going on and really can make your head spin if you're trying to pay attention to all of it. But for me, it's always price. I sit here saying, you know, what's the reason for this? And I very quickly lose interest of why I care, why things are happening. It's just the chart and the price levels that matter to me. But there is a lot of things going on in the background as far as consensus going on. We've got the potential for eBay is going to be paying in cryptocurrency. That came out of consensus. We've got the backed exchange. We've got more information on institutional investors potentially loading up. We've got the decision for the ETFs approaching. A delay is likely, which would push it back to August if it does get delayed, which is the most likely scenario. But overall, Bitcoin has had the spotlight, and the question is, will it shift to Ethereum and Litecoin, or is the shift going to take place in some of these altcoins like XRP that saw a huge laggard explosion, inside bar, broke bullish, and then exploded on big volume. And looking at the signal for that taking place, it was really just a huge volume spike on a break of resistance and breaking all resistance levels nearby in one move, and then an hourly higher low and higher high. Certainly a lot of volatility here. Let's see what the 5-minute oversold bounces have looked like on XRP. Again, it's just perfect. The first major bull move that you see, the first 5-minute RSI oversold conditions is an entry point, and we have seen a bounce from 366 to 42. We got oversold again, just touched that level right there, and we went from 376 up to 407. huge gains on oversold bounces. I love oversold bounces. And when they're this easy as far as consistency, maybe you can love them too. We'll look at the hourly oversold bounce as a next key one to be watching for over the next few days. So as far as XRP is concerned, the weekly time frame has changed the trend, and really it's a bit of a back and forth here. I wouldn't call it a clear trend change with a higher low and higher high because this wasn't a higher low. We did break some support levels. The bottom line is we broke resistance now. We're seeing the highest price in months, and it's all about 466. Because if we can break 466, we're going to start significantly shifting this momentum. And let's look at it on the monthly time frame perspective, knowing that Bitcoin still has to change its monthly trend with a higher low and higher high follow through. And looking at XRP here, anything under 79 is a monthly lower high. Look at this equilibrium. Low, high of the bull move. Higher low did form down here. And now anything under 79 is a monthly lower high. We're going to be watching for XRP to give us a monthly equilibrium. Binance, significant buying of the dip. Our weekly higher low very clearly set, bouncing right off the exponential 12 period. This is why I like these exponential moving averages as visual guides. Again, I don't use a lot of moving averages, and I know a lot of people are sick of analysts that have 15 moving averages on their charts. Of course, some of them are going to act as support and resistance. But when you see how these levels act, I mean, Bitcoin right off of that level, XRP on the daily, or actually Binance on the daily, on the weekly, right off that level, is just a great visual guide as far as what to be watching. And it's what I've been watching on Bitcoin today, this morning, hourly time frame. Look at how long we grinded closing above this 12-period exponential on the hourly chart. It was literally about 16 hours in a row, and then we lost it, and that has been a bit of a notable shift now that we have lost those exponential moving averages. So for Binance, the weekly higher low is established. This is now our most important weekly uptrend level of 1830, and we're making our way back towards the all-time high. That being said, bulls are extended. We ran for 4 days in a row. It was a very significant run of 33%. This is the king of crypto in 2019 at this point until it gets dethroned as far as opportunity and gains, but it was overextended, certainly too much to break the all-time high, and we might need a new daily higher low to give it another chance again. So this bounce is coming off the low of consolidation, so a higher low and higher high will have us looking up at that all-time high if we can see that happen. BCH, weekly time frame has changed the trend similar to Ethereum as far as the recency of that trend change and continuation. And on the daily time frame, upper wicks were a bit extended, but we still have the 4-hour. I take that back. We have lost the 4-hour uptrend at this point. 371 was that level. It has broken. The bears have not seen a lot of follow through yet, but we're watching now a hourly downtrend. So lower high, anything under 400 essentially is a lower high. Our support is down at 363. And again, very high risk, high reward on this name where we see big time pullbacks. And look at the RSI levels getting more extreme. And that is due to liquidity issues, just being less liquid. But look at this V-shaped dump and bounce. And that's why you put stop. That's why you put buy orders and hope to see wicks like that to fill you. But we ended up bouncing 10% in 15 minutes with that wick. And without that wick, we bounced about 7 or 8% in a half an hour. So 5-minute RSI getting extended, lining up with Bitcoin. Let's see if 15-minute RSI got extended as well. So both those time frames lining up, giving the bulls confidence to buy the dip. But sentiment is shifting. The momentum is shifting. And we're watching now, is this going to lead to daily consolidation in the cryptocurrency space? Bitcoin is still pretty resilient. And let's now see this 15-minute inverse head and shoulders. If we can see these bulls turn around and break 80.61 and 80.95, that will have us looking right back up at these all-time highs with a clear 4-hour higher low established. And it's not all-time highs, it's high of this bull move. But maybe we'll get to play that all-time high video at some point this summer. We'll keep that on ice for when we need it. So I appreciate you watching. Oversold conditions. You don't have to play them if they're new for you. Playing against the trend like that or playing against momentum can be scary. Paper trade it. Get confidence. Watch how often those play out and get followed through. There are times when we're in a downtrend. If we're in daily consolidation, those 5-minute oversold bounces are not going to be anywhere near as significant. But when we are in a very strong bull move, I can't tell you how many times in 2017 when we were in breakout mode, if you buy 5-minute oversold, you win. And I can remember, I've said it before, I've showed my friends who didn't know anything about charts and trading, I said, look at this little cheat sheet. When this line goes under this 30 level, buy. And it was magic to them. And of course, it didn't stay that way, and I made sure to tell them it's not this easy. But in certain market environments, when we have signals that are reliable like this, it does make trading easy. So we'll see how long these oversold bounces continue with this strength. And once they stop seeing this kind of strength, and again, once we see oversold and a weak bounce into oversold again on the shorter term timeframes, that tells us longer term consolidation is likely. So I appreciate you watching. As always, we'll continue to check back in. Glad to be hanging around all the way down from 20,000 down to 3,000, back up to 8,000, and not being a bandwagon YouTuber like many out there. But it's all right. Love for everybody, except for the scammers, because they're coming back. And we keep getting messages from ICOs saying, hey, is this really you? And the answer is no, that's not really us wanting to promote your product. That's a scammer. So as always, they're going to come out of the woodwork with the price action and hype. Just be aware and protective. Thanks again. Do good things. See you soon. So we'll wrap it up here with a little bit more of Colorado Winter Wonderland, and had the fortunate encounter of meeting a member of the Chart Guys who owns a gem shop in Estes Park right outside of Rocky Mountain National Park, and he hooked it up with some fossils. So now that I am closing on a house, I guess I have to start accumulating things. I haven't had more than what fits in my car for the last 8 years maybe, and now I got some really old fish and some mollusks and some sea star guys. Don't break them. Sea star guys. So I guess I'm a fossil collector. We'll see how that goes. See you soon. So we'll wrap it up here with a little bit more of Colorado Winter Wonderland, and had the fortunate encounter of meeting a member of the Chart Guys who owns a gem shop in Estes Park right outside of Rocky Mountain National Park, and he hooked it up with some fossils. So now that I am closing on a house, I guess I have to start accumulating things. I haven't had more than what fits in my car for the last 8 years maybe, and now I got some really old fish and some mollusks and some sea star guys. Don't break them. Sea star guys. So I guess I'm a fossil collector. We'll see how that goes. See you soon.